I'm live?
Hmm.
Maybe?
Yes.
I, I'm only
All
going to
right, I'm
make
hosting
statements
you.
tonight in
Is
in
that
the form of a question.
in the form of a question? So it's gonna be like Ron Burgundy reading "Stay Classy, San Diego."
Stay classy, San Diego. Yeah, yep,
Who
yep.
did that? Who put a question mark there? All right, so you are in
That's
fact
well, yeah.
live. I can see you.
All right. Yeah. So welcome to the Division DZPD. This is week 17 or 18. I don't even know what it is. It's week
Just make it easy. Season 2, episode 3. There we go. Keep that. It's been a lot of weeks.
season 2, episode 3.
There you go. Keep it
And
easy for you. Keep your numbers down for you.
my character is
You
no
are.
longer a hipster. I am Burt
No,
Reynolds,
he's not.
and this
No,
is
Cowboyed Up. I'm Negan.
Cowboyed Up,
Negan Killjoy.
the Golden Voice Gaming, ladies and gentlemen.
Let's
One and
get this
only
off right.
Golden Voice Gaming.
Right.
Yeah,
There
that's
we go.
a good idea.
Yeah, absolutely. Doing a Portland
Yeah.
or
Right
Pacific
through my
Wonderland
mask.
Lager tonight. That's what I'm doing. Pacific Wonderland Lager tonight.
I am doing La Croix, the essence of the essence of key lime. Mmm, it's delicious.
I I don't mean to get semantics on you, but I believe the makers call it LaCroix because they want it to rhyme with joy. Is what they were
So,
saying. The
as
joy
a
of LaCroix.
employee of a I believe you. I believe that's what they want you to think. But as an employee of a Canadian company,
It's LaCroix. It's French, I believe. I know. I have the same thing with people I work with. They're like, "Oh, no, it's LaCroix." I'm like, "That's fine. That's I'm just telling you what the manufacturers call it, and like the. So yeah, I get it. I'm with you on that one. Just screwing things up. That's all they're doing.
I'm just saying they're wrong.
Screwing things up.
That's I'm just gonna
That's
to say they're wrong.
as an employee of a Canadian company who may speak a little bit of
It's
French on occasion, have to deal with it.
I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying they're
No, I
wrong.
understand. They're wrong.
You're
Whoever's
you're
trying to
good.
get away with
They're
Croy.
wrong.
Yes. Yeah. There you go. Yes. Well, and your background or your training or your profession is somewhat in sales and advertising, so you get what they're trying to do. Make it joyful, make it happy, make it all smiles.
Mm-hmm.
Not
Yeah,
all difficult
marketers
for us Americans to say. La croix. Croix.
as a very veteran marketer, we're a bunch of liars. Liars. We're a bunch of liars. We're professional liars.
You get
And
paid well usually to do it.
you're paid okay to do it if you can live with yourself. Yeah, that's really what they're paying you for. They're paying you for the fact that you'll never sleep well again.
That's
But
right. There you go. All right. On that note.
on that note, let's talk about more fun things because that's not a fun
Sure.
topic. Um,
No.
let's talk about the division and builds.
Yes.
And
And
we talked.
before we do
we
that though,
Yeah.
remember
Yes.
we have a flag call.
Oh yeah.
A
What was it
booth
again?
review. Last
Booth
week
review.
we were talking
Yeah.
about booth review where we're talking about the gun range. Follow me
Yeah.
down here.
We missed something, didn't we?
We missed something pretty. Well, it's pretty. I mean, could be pretty important. It's kind of a nice little thing that we didn't talk about. It's this
We
part
missed the
right
wall.
here, the wall, the biggest part of the range on the outside. Do you want to talk about
We
it?
can set
Tell
it
them
to
just so.
challenging.
Yep.
Yeah. So you
Went
can
to the
set
booth.
the
Went to reviewed.
whole range to a certain difficulty level, like challenging, to give you a better idea of what it's like to fight challenging enemies.
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea if my build will even work in here. But of course, then you can set, the type of enemy, and we showed you last week. You can set the range, distance. I don't know if the swarm will work in here. No idea.
Guess that answers the question. Looks like it worked.
It did. It did trigger my yeah.
Nice.
So there you go.
Yep, that's what we forgot. So the booth reviewed it. We got called back for 10 yards on forgetting to mention the shooting range level options right there. So there we go. Now we feel better. I feel better about life. Unlike you, will sleep well tonight when I actually go to bed because I don't sleep very much at all. So there's that.
Yeah, I won't. I won't. But that's cool. It's all good. I'm gonna reset skill cooldowns here. This is what this is for, by the way. Reset those skill cooldowns so that I can throw a brand new swarm. Hit my pulse. Ooh.
1.2 off the bat. That's not bad at all. Dang. Is your demo in the build that you're about to talk about? Oh, what we're looking at here?
I am.
Showing off?
Yeah,
Showing off a little bit?
I am. Showing off a little bit. So, yeah, let's talk about this thing, because, yeah, obviously you see it puts us on... Oop, that, I was damaging myself. Nope, I didn't want to do that either. So this is actually a build that, Horchata Beast, who we sometimes run with, was like, hey, have you seen anybody using that hive thing that, like, just wrecks people? He asked that at what? The end of our gaming session last night. It was probably midnight, my time.
Yep. Yep.
And I was like, I think I could throw a build together around that thing. So I threw a build together around that thing last night. And I still have it on, so I guess we'll just talk about it.
Whether you want to or
So
not, it's there. You might as well talk about it now, right?
yeah. So we talked last week about there's new named pieces. And I literally titled the title of the stream tonight Firm Handshake. Because one of the name pieces that we got is this pair of gloves called the Firm Handshake. And it has like literally changed the game for those people who are in the know and are looking to put out a lot of damage. And basically what this one has on it is has a talent called Perfectly Wicked. I think we talked a little bit about it last week, but when you apply a status effect, you gain 20% weapon damage for 20 seconds. It's a lot of weapon damage for 20 seconds. It refreshes itself. And here's the funny thing about it, right? Like you apply the status effect, you don't have to keep the status effect going. It just has to get applied. So you blind one enemy for the next 20 seconds, you get 20% weapon. The other one we got is Perfect Spotter, which is on a mask called the Night Watcher. And you can see here 20% weapon damage to pulsed enemies. So it basically undid the nerf that they did to Spotter. We got another talent here called Spark. You have a perfect Spark backpack, but I didn't use it for this build because it doesn't have hardened on it. 15% weapon damage for 15 seconds when skills or explosives damage somebody. So again, if a skill damages anyone, you get 15 seconds of weapon damage. And again, this one refreshes. So if you add all that up, you've got 20 and 20, 15, right? And so there's a bunch of different status effects that you can apply. So 55% weapon damage. That's a lot of weapon damage, Negan, because just for point of reference, stat tab here. This is a pretty well put together build. I have a lot of all weapon damage bonus. My total all weapon damage bonus right now is 30.5%, which in the current setup is pretty good, right? Because my combined is 72, which is pretty good, still pretty good,
and the all weapon bonus damage doesn't take into account the procs that you're talking about. It just is strong.
And that's my
plus
point.
damage that you have on your pieces.
Point. Yeah. So an additional 55% weapon damage is like not nothing. I'll tell you that.
Not nothing at all.
Nothing. So very strong. And so you have to do a couple things, right? You have to apply a status effect. Well, you could apply a burn. You can apply a blind. You can apply a bleed. And the burn is probably the most optimal because there's also a named gun that we got. called the Pyromaniac.
Yeah, baby.
Here,
I like it. I like that gun.
perfectly ignited. Deal another 40% weapon damage to burning enemies. After 2 kills, applies burning to the next enemy hit. That's pretty sweet. However, there are no current skills that are easy to apply a burn with. The flame turret got a massive nerf in terms of how long it's around and how easy it is to kill, and they changed enemy behavior for enemies to really target your turret.
I thought
So
they,
they'll go
I
after it right
thought
away.
they, I thought they flipped that because on the stream last week they were talking about how they flipped that they are going to focus on you, or are you saying when you go into cover and don't shoot at them is when they go after the turrets and stuff? I think that's
They
what they
go.
did.
They flipped the behavior on heavies. They're very
Okay,
specific. Heavies will no longer. You know how it used to be
tankies.
like
That's right.
you could literally use your turret to like kite heavies around,
Yes,
right? Like you throw
absolutely.
it
Yep.
somewhere and they no longer will do that. But the enemies, I've since the patch, man, you throw a turret out and anybody who's shooting is gonna focus that turret down pretty quick. They're not just gonna let it sit there, because you used to be able to, like, throw a turret up on like a pole, and it would just kill the entire group of enemies. Like they wouldn't even, they'd all be like oblivious, like it wasn't even there. Not the case
Okay.
anymore. Several of them will immediately focus fire it and burst it down. The flame turret's weak sauce, man. It just they kill the thing almost instantly. It's got a ridiculously long cooldown. If you use duration mods to make it stay around more than whatever 25 seconds, then it's going to be weak. They also nerfed the how long or how strong the flame canisters are from the chem launcher. And I even added a bunch of damage back to it in a fire burn intensity mod or something to it. It's still not good. It doesn't keep them burning for any amount of time. Right? They burn for like 2 seconds, like a flash. So you don't really have a ton of options on how to light guys on fire other than trusty flame grenade. Um, but there's not like a million options to it. And then for blinding, you don't have obviously the only one they gave us of a weapon that has that perfectly status effect, perfectly ignited. They did not give us a perfect sadist, and they did not give us a perfectly eyeless weapon. But you can blind guys pretty easily with the blinder Firefly, and love that. It's fun. Um, and then you can also make them bleed. So this build is around making them bleed, which is why I do have Sadist on my SMG here, which is it's still 30% weapon damage to bleeding enemies after 3 kills. Applies bleed to the next enemy hit. It's not, it's a little less, but it's still strong. And this Swarm Hive, which Horchata was asking about, applies the bleed effect. Man, does this thing do damage? It wrecks. And the best part about it is you can now pick it up. Like you put it down, and you can actually pick it up. And it goes on cooldown right away now, Negan. That changed. So you can use it with On the Ropes if you want to as well. I'm using it with
Nice.
Spark, but you could use it with On the Ropes. Um, I guess it just
So
depends on if you have more of a skill focused build or damage focused build.
go back to the SMG. The other reason you're using an SMG, the advantage there is because Firm Handshake rolls on Sokolovs, correct?
Yes, Firm
That's the
Handshake
only place
only
where you can see
rolls
it.
on Sokolov. Yep,
And Sokolovs are, if I recall correctly, SMG damage based.
they are 10% SMG damage is its brand set bonus one.
So
Um,
having an SMG with it, along with all the other weapon damage we spoke about with the effects and all the other stuff, you're also using a good piece, a good gear, a brand set with a synergy weapon as well. So also another good reason to run
correct.
SMG.
Yeah. Now I did build a
So much damage.
version of this morning also with just a plain normal turret and the pulse, because again, all that Spark is looking for is for you to be throwing out damage, right? So this one has even additional damage. You see, I brought in a Gila holster, and yeah, this one's even more weapon damage. But it, you know, whatever. You can go either way. Um,
So when you say more weapon damage, is it dramatically different weapon damage, or is it just damage from a different pieces and stuff like that?
so it's dramatically more. It's yeah. I mean, it's considerably more weapon damage because I'm running. I'm the the reason thereby is that I move because I didn't have to keep the Sokolov gloves in, and I went to just throwing devastating on the gloves, and I moved those over to be Fenris gloves. Then I was able to pull in the Gila holster with 2 more red mod slots, right? Even
Nice.
more. You see, it's 975. The nice thing is, they made that change to Ranger, so now I can run Ranger even if I like. It used to be if you had more than 4 yellows, you couldn't run Ranger, but now they took all the requirements off Ranger, so it's not like I don't have any guns I can use. I obviously can't use Optimist. I can use Ranger. So that's pretty sweet. Again, hard call out. I could just have Sadist on both guns, but guys aren't always bleeding, and yeah. So I mean, again, it's pretty cool. And then I've got the pulse, right? So it's like I'm constantly in this mode of I've got some sort of major buff going on to my damage. The one thing I don't have is a heal or patience. Sucks. Just calling it out. Like that is terrible. Trying to heal yourself only using medkits. But price we have to pay for awesome damage. So
So this is one of those times that somewhere in the build we talked about it a couple weeks ago. We talked about it off and on since then. Is there doesn't seem to be, and this isn't a massive trade-off, but there is a trade-off that you did have to make. There is something that you did have to decide not to do in order to get it to work the way you wanted to in this particular build. So there was a minor trade-off. That's the patience and the heal. Is that because the pieces you have, or is that because just generally speaking, you're not going to be able to run those in this concept?
not with these kind of stats. 975. I mean, that's a ton of stats, right?
Mm-hmm.
I could go considerably less tanky on it, and I could have patience on it. It is technically right. Like I could flip flop some stuff here between the mod. Like I could put in a different holster, pick up at least one blue there.
But then the decisions become a little more difficult, and moving stuff around becomes a little more complicated, right?
It wouldn't be that bad. I mean, I literally I could do it. I throw on patience.
Let's stay on this build.
Put
Don't
a
go changing
hard
stuff right now.
put a hard hitting holster on it instead, or I throw the Fenris patience and hard hitting these on. Put a holster in that has some mod slots for blues. Change out. I actually have a couple of these Night Watcher masks, so I could put a blue, red, yellow Night Watcher mask on. I'd lose some skill power. Um, I could just, I'm okay with it the way put it that way. It's not the solid. It's okay.
Mm-hmm.
So that's fine. Um, but if I were willing to trade a little bit of overall tankiness, I could definitely do it. But I'm finding it challenging and in a good way to try to get good at using medkits. So that's what I'm doing.
There you go. Learning, continuing to learn new stuff as you play. It's always a good thing.
I didn't. I don't think I did. I didn't really talk about the pieces other than the couple. So I will talk about what I did put together here so that you see
There you
it, and then we'll go take it out and show it to you. Um, so again, I've got the Sadist SMG. I've got the Mark 16. I like the Mark 16, especially it's my ranged weapon in this case. I've got a pistol within rhythm on it. Got rooted here. Transmission here. Although I think I'm gonna probably swap that out for the battery, whatever the battery. Recharged. Recharged. I've got the Night Watchman, Night Watcher, whatever mask. Um, I've got a Gila backpack that's got armor, total armor, weapon damage, spark, and hardened. And that spark is strong. I went with a 511. So the trick is for spark to be active, you need to have 9 reds. Um, that's a lot of reds. A lot of red. So I went with this 511 chess piece, which is nothing but red. So I picked up 5 of them on one piece, which is pretty sweet, I guess. You know, I mean, that's a pretty cool deal. I can pick up that much off of one. Obviously, got my Firm
Definitely
Handshake.
gives you some flexibility as you go through other pieces.
Yeah, yeah, it did. I got my Firm Handshake. I've got so many pairs of these gloves. Look, another Firm Handshake. This particular pair just happened to have the best roll on it. I keep getting those things. Has a terrible armor roll though. Need the Fenris for the assault rifle, so I've got this Fenris holster with devastating. I could run other things in here if I was willing to take a little damage hit. I could run. I do have a Fenris holster that has reassigned, which would give me killing status affected enemies would give me 3 rounds of special ammo on my pistol, so I could keep flipping the pistol and might try that at some point. Yeah. But yeah.
Explain the reassigned one again, because I've always had trouble understanding or getting the rhythm of, because most people don't use a pistol. It puts out good damage, but most people don't use a pistol. So explain what you just said as far as using it, getting special ammo in your pistol and stuff like that. Explain that again.
So
You're not going to run
yeah.
very long with your pistol.
No, I'm going to take like 1 shot. Killing a status affected enemy adds 3 rounds of a random special ammo into your sidearm. Can occur once every 45 seconds. Great. The way I use special ammo, especially when you're running with the Firm Handshake, special ammo is extremely strong, right? Because again, all you have to do is hit and cause a status effect to one enemy, and you get 20 seconds of increased damage.
Across the board. You hit everybody with 20% damage, or increased damage.
Well, you get a 20. The little icon comes up the bottom, and you get a 20% damage buff for 20 seconds.
There you
So
go.
the way I'm using special ammo right now, as it sits, is anytime I see a special ammo box, I actually load it in my pistol, not in my normal weapon, because 1 mag of that is gone in a split second, right? Like I literally, especially with something like, Allegro on both these, right? I mean, enemy's gone. So I actually load it into my pistol anyway, and then whenever I need Wicked and I'm not getting it, I just switch my pistol, fire 1 shot at somebody, trigger a status effect, and I get it for another 20 seconds. Or I throw a grenade. Because that's what's giving you the buff, right? So it's actually very strong. It's like a freebie. Free 20% damage anytime you need it. And it just means you have to look for a special ammo box. Or if you're somewhere where there isn't one, you're still good.
Right.
And
Makes sense.
but I went with devastating because I like the damage. And then I've been doing this a lot lately. I never get healing knees with yellows on them, right? But I don't even know if they roll with it. I always get them with blues or occasionally red. Never get them with you. But I did. And so I've rolled yellow onto this. Gives me a yellow blue blue. Patience features. Yellow blue blue. And I like it. I like it. Oh wow. So yeah, that's what I'm doing with that. And I think that's it, Negan. Any questions? I mean, I would love to have more skill power. It does not have a lot of. It doesn't have any. It doesn't mod slot. I would like to have more skill power so I could trigger more stuff here. I've got a damage mod in. I've got a amount of charges in, and I've got a battery in. I have more. I could have more charges. I have a mod in my whatever. My stash. I could have more charges. But I'm not running it because I don't. And then I'm on a pretty quick cooldown. 16-second, not great. It could be better, but it's not terrible. I'm running skill haste and skill haste on that. Just doing the standard pulse.
In the heat of battle, 16 seconds goes by pretty quickly.
Well, and I have we'll feature it another week, but I have a Night Watcher build where like my only thing is around that, right? It's Pokeballs and the Spotter Pulse. Perfect Spotter Pulse. On that one where I really built for it, and I'm using On the Ropes instead of Spark. I have that one on like the cooldown's lower than the duration, so I can overlap almost, if that makes sense. They don't let you overlap,
Nice.
but I can almost overlap. So I have no downtime.
Right,
But
it's
you
off for
can't
very
always.
short periods of time.
It's so annoying, and you've run with me. Like I forget to hit it. It's up so often, and I don't realize it, and it's like all of a sudden I'm looking at my damage numbers and they're low. And I'm like, crap, I didn't hit my pulse. So I've mapped it to more than one button on my trusty razor here. I've got it mapped underneath as well. So like if I forget I've got more than one button I can hit. I'm lazy, Negan. Lazy.
Nice. Efficient. That's actually efficient. You're frugal with your time.
So before we close the show, because we're coming up on time, we got about four minutes left. Do you want to go down and kill our favorite group of enemies to kill down there? And
Yeah. So two things as we go down there towards the enemies.
Sure.
You mentioned the firm handshake. Everybody sees you run it. Do you think it's actually in need? And I don't want to use the word nerf, but do you think it's working as intended, or do you think it's too powerful or OP, or is it one of the better talents that they put out there since TU6 dropped? Or do you think there are other ones that are better?
So I do think it's working as intended. I don't think it's OP at all. Because status effects are not easy to keep up. If I'm honest, like they're not easy to keep up. It's a difficult proposition to constantly have status effects up, and it almost always that's forcing the trade on you, because if you're gonna have enough skills to keep the status effects up, you're gonna have no heal. So you can see at the bottom of my screen, I've got all these icons going. That is because, as I said earlier, all this stuff stays. This guy's gonna come running right back into this like an idiot. Or I'm just gonna pick it up and I'm gonna throw it at him.
So also, the next thing is when you're running this, what's your strategy? Because again, it looks like you're playing a little more aggressive. You went forward a little bit more than you usually do.
Yeah. Let me wreck this guy real quick while he's still bleeding.
Doop. Done so.
And see how quick that goes.
Yeah, that was pretty fast.
It will wreck him. So in this particular build, I get in their face. The reason I get in their face is they're not going to have that status effect for very long. And if I got the pulse going, again, I want to maximize damage here, right? I'm almost getting 100% damage from all of those things combined. 30 from Sadists, 40 from Perfectly Wicked, 15 from Spark, 20 from the Pulse, right? It's a lot. I want to get it while I can get it. So I get pretty nasty with the thing, and I will get in people's faces. Part of the problem with that is I have no way to heal myself after, right? So it's like I run up, get right in their face, do all this stuff, and then I've got. But That's
And
the trait.
you hope
That's the
you hope
trait.
there's cover somewhere when you run up front, so you can actually use a med kit. That's what you're looking for when you're doing
What?
that stuff, right?
Absolutely.
Or you
I
just count on your
absolutely.
buddies to pick you up.
No, well, I am. You know that's true. How
Mm-hmm.
many times you've picked me up? I've been like horchata beast lately. I mean, you've been picking me up all over the place because I'm the idiot that's on the ground. I mean, it's total opposite of my play style. And we talked the other night. Like horchata's role has become my role, and I don't know what he's doing, but not what he usually does. Um, yeah. But if I'm honest, I'm like totally okay with that. Because I firmly, no pun intended, um, believe that a time is coming quickly where there will be viable healer builds. And at the point where there's a viable healer build, then I should be able to do that okay and not have to worry about healing myself.
Right. And so
So
obviously we're
that's
going
what
to
I'm
recap your
hoping for.
build. What makes you say that it's coming? Do you think healer builds just haven't been found out in a way to make them work, or do you think there's some changes that they need to make healer builds more viable?
No, I think the next, we're doing one more specialization, right? I think the
Mm-hmm.
next specialization will be healer builds
Gotcha.
because it's the one thing we're truly missing right now, right?
Right.
See, there's what
Hey,
happens right there.
speak of, hey, there we go.
You,
Hey, buddy.
yep,
There's your
backing
dreaded
up, getting out
turrets
of the
too.
range. Yep, he's getting out. That guy was backing up, staying out of range, which of course is not great. There are a lot of ways that the enemies will play you.
Yeah. And they changed some of the enemy AI as well. Again, going back to what they were talking about in the state of the game, is that before everybody used to kind of bolt and get into cover and stuff like that. Now they've changed it where some of them will assign to start shooting at you while the others run for cover too. So it's a little more. I think people who are face tanking are having to adjust their strategy just a little bit. Not a huge
Right.
difference, but it makes a little bit of a difference.
It does, yeah.
So,
And so let's recap this thing. I'll just run down it one
recap it.
more time here. Um, got the SMG with Sadist on it, assault rifle with Ranger, both with Allegro. I got the Night Watcher going, which is a mask with Perfect Spotter. I'm using a pulse. I have a backpack with Spark for extra damage when my skills have done damage, extra gun damage anytime my skills are doing damage. I've got a chest piece with Unstoppable Force. There's the other one I forgot. I'm stacking Unstoppable Force. It's ridiculous damage output, man. It's so many buffs. It's sick. I've got the Firm Handshake, which is the key to the whole thing, with Perfectly Wicked. When you apply a status effect, gain 20% weapon damage for 20 seconds. Awesome. Got some devastating 5% weapon damage on my holster. Got some hard hitting knees with skill power and defensive mod slots. All wrapping up to very strong gun damage, very strong DTE, tons of available damage buffs, almost 300,000 armor, which is, not nothing, especially not for a 975 build. And I'm running a Swarm Hive in this particular case for the bleed and a Pulse for the Night Watcher, and all of it goes together and makes for a lot of damage.
Very well done.
Any other thoughts?
No, that's
and
a
and
one.
all of this, I'm dedicating this tonight to Horchata, who asked, could we put a build
Yeah,
together
can be done.
around the Hive? Yes, absolutely, it can be done, and absolutely, it probably cleans up in really tough content. We will find out. Haven't had a chance to run it. Next time we'll cover some other build, new build. I've got a couple other ones I've been working on putting together, and so we'll cover one of those next time.
So in as a sort of a tease, what the hell? What kind of stuff are you excited about with builds now? I mean, there's the TO6 dropping all the different named weapons and stuff like that. Is it specific on name pieces, or is it just in general? What kind of stuff are you looking forward to?
Well, I love the new named loot, right? It reminds me a lot of the original Destiny, where you had non-exotics that felt exotic, named
Mhm.
weapons that were not exotics, but they felt kind of exotic. As well, a lot of the exotics got buffs in TU6. I think I'm most excited because you know me, I like putting together builds. It's like my thing. So already out
If
of
it wasn't, it'd
slots.
make this show a little more
Although
difficult.
I know some of these are just variations that I put together here, right? Like this is a Pokeball build, strong one with the perfect spotter. Uh oh, this is my eyeless. This is the one using. This is my CC build using the Firefly. This is my old Pokeball build. Zerk build. You saw that in the Dark Zone. This thing has disgusting amount of health. Look, 370,000 health. Which is now possible. Another Pokeball build of sorts.
A few options coming
My
up.
Ellen.
That's what the short version is. Few options coming
Yeah,
up. You got some stuff you're
yeah.
excited about. Stuff you're doing.
But I
Stuff you're
think the
working
one
on.
I'm most excited about is I'm gonna retool my, and this is just something cool. I'm gonna retool my rifle build to get Spark into it. The reason being the the Spark talent gets triggered off of the Merc, which got a buff. So I'm gonna build a rifle build around putting out explosive damage, and I did today. I got a pair of China Light gloves with a high rifle roll and devastating on them, and all I have to do is roll some assault rifle damage on them as well. And I mean, I'll build something cool out of it. So that's the one I'm doing next. Rifle build using the
Nice.
Merciless. Maybe some Negotiator's Dilemma pieces in there as well, and yeah, we'll see. I'll have something good for next
Oh,
week.
oh, mercy, mercy. Let's see what you can do with it. I'm sorry, I had to go there.
Mm-hmm. We'll see what I can do with it, Negan. And why don't
All
you
right.
sign us off for the night?
All right. Well,
Yes,
thanks, Bert,
I'm
for the
gonna.
fun stuff. And you know what they say. See ya.